Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's topic, which is relationship building. So obviously we are in the business of relationships, and unlike a lot of other types of business, for us, it really is all about the relationship. And that's the whole idea of Flowcademy, this idea of taking your personal life and your professional life and working them together in order to build those relationships. And it's the relationships, of course, that are going to build our business.
Yeah, Kevin, this is really at the crux of what you and I have been trying to design and put in place for people. Is to be in flow, is to be in and out of your regular, not necessarily just business relationships, but the people that you hang out with on the weekends, your kids' parents or your kids' friends' parents, or whoever you play golf with or whatever it is. It's really trying to take those relationships that you already have and being purposeful about putting you in a position to be their expert when it comes to real estate without being that guy or that gal where it's like, it's always about real estate. So that's kind of what this is all about, right?
That's right. So I'm sure that many of you have heard about Ford, and what we'd love today, for those of you that have gone through this class before, think about how you've put these ideas into place since you last went through this class, and have you seen any changes? And when we get to our question and answer time, it would be great to listen to ways that you've been affected by, especially the Ford method, and just other ways of really concentrating on the idea or focusing on the idea that, yeah, the friend, or this is somebody that I am just getting to know, and I'm not going to push that I want to push my business on them, but I want to build my relationship with them, that it could eventually turn into business. So the Ford method is something that many of you have heard about, but we just want to go through it because it's a real great way to start conversations with people. And it takes the questions off of you and puts it on them, because people like to talk about themselves. So the first one is family. Family is a great place to start. And it doesn't have to be biological family. It can be your community family, your neighbors, just people in your life that are like family. And it's a great place to kind of ask, how's your family doing? And especially if you know somebody in common, how's Sheila doing? I haven't talked to her in a while. What's going on with her? So family is a great question to kind of allow them to open up about things that are going on with them personally. I will also say that the FORD questions that we're going to go through, when you're talking to somebody, it's like, okay, I've gone through friends, I've gone through occupation. Now I need to figure out these other two. You don't have to do that. You can use one or all of these, but it's just a great way to get conversation going. So the second one is occupation. Hey, how's work going? We get that all the time, right? You're talking to somebody and they'll say, what's going on at work? How are things going? How's business? I was just on with my accountability group, and our whole thing was, how's business going right now? And it's a great way to talk about, here's what I'm dealing with, here's what I'm going on, or is going on in my business. And I think that we were all participating a little bit with each other just to hear what's going on and support each other. Next one is recreation. This is a great one. What do you like to do outside of work? Or what are your favorite things to do? Recreation can be, for me, I love to travel. So for me, it's traveling. Recreation might be hiking. It might be working out. So what do you like to do outside of work or during your happy time? Maybe it's cooking or things like that. So asking questions, I love to ask the question is, have you gone on any trips lately, or are you planning to go anywhere? And it can just open up a whole conversation. And then dreams. This isn't always an easy one to get to, but basically it's that kind of question that we all kind of know. Where do you hope to be in 5 years, or what is it that you'd like to be doing right now? I personally believe that COVID has made a big change with the D1, because I think so many of us have made a shift in the way that we are operating with things and looking at things and being involved with things, that dreams have really become a big part of either a shift in career or a shift in the way we're dealing with things. And I think for a lot of people, it has actually become a pretty positive shift.
Yeah, Kevin, if I could just add to the whole theme here, as you mentioned, is it happens to be that these work into this acronym so that we can remember, but this is very, very broad. So it is definitely not like, so tell me about your dreams. I mean, there may be a person that is an appropriate conversation with, but it's more like thinking about, what are these people looking forward to? Being curious about what is the bigger part of their life, the part that you don't know about, the thing that might be exciting that about their life, that the more you know about them, the better it is that you're able to be a kind of a better friend and a person that cares about their life. And the basic formula here is, the more you can get people talking about themselves, the more they tend to like the person that they're talking to. And so it goes back to that time of possession. We've talked about that before. The book Ninja talks about time of possession. And the best way to have time of possession be on the side of anybody we're talking to is to be asking them open-ended questions. And so that's the gist of Ford. So when you have your daily navigator as well, and some of you are just getting rolling on that, you'll see, at least on mine and hopefully on some of yours, that we quantify how many of these Ford kind of conversations we want to have. So like on my daily navigator, I might have 10 people that I want to make contact with, but of those 10, I might want to make sure that at least 4 of them or 5 of them or whatever, I get in some kind of Ford conversation. In other words, a little more in depth.
I'll add to that, Rick. Getting these questions and talking about these questions at the beginning with clients, especially family, occupation, all of these, actually, recreation and dreams, as you're going through houses and you're saying, you mentioned to me that you like to you have your family meals all the time, and this space doesn't have much of a dining room. Well, it's taking those cues of what you listen to and hear from them. And as you're looking for properties, really kind of keeping those at top of mind so that as you're going through things, you can suggest things in properties and things like that. And I think clients really appreciate that because they realize that we're getting to know them. So this is a favorite thing that I've heard a number of times. Your next question, this is when you're talking to people, your next question is embedded in their last answer. So it's being one of Rick's favorite things to say is being curious. And this is one of those questions or these ideas that helps you continue a conversation with a client. So when their last answer is something about, we went hiking last week in the mountains, your next question might be, well, how often do you hike? It's continuing to roll what's interesting to them by what they just said in their previous answer.
Listen, the reason I kind of giggled about that one, and poor Nicole and Kevin, they spend way too much time with me, but I really have to be purposeful about listening because I always feel like I have so much to say. And even you guys too, Flocatomates, that you've seen me in Live Coach or whatever, I'm like, I got something. And that may be you too. And it's important to be able to ask the open-ended questions, be curious, and really listen to what they're saying. Don't start thinking about what my next question is going to be, but really, immerse yourself in the conversation by being able to listen.
Yeah, and the key point of what you just said is don't be thinking about what you're going to say next. Pay attention to what they're saying, because in what they're saying is going to come your next question or discussion. This one I love. This one I really love. When you're talking to somebody, instead of saying, okay, that's it, that's all I need to know, let's go on to the next thing, this question can really bring out more information. And it's simply, tell me more about that. So if you're having you're having that discussion about the family eating together every night in the dining room, tell me more about that. Get some clarity on it. Tell me more about that so that I can understand it a little bit more. And it also draws out more from the person that you're speaking with.
And it's a natural curiosity question. Okay, so let's talk about business development. So we have our, there's our friends and the people we hang out with, the people we play golf or tennis or that are at social clubs or moms groups or dads groups or whatever. And then there's a portion of our business that we want to be, quote unquote, networking, where we're actually doing more business to business interactions. These are people that really can leverage or that you can leverage their relationship with multiple people. right? And we don't want to leave them out. Now, this can be kind of the harder nut to crack, especially if you're not comfortable in that kind of networking place. But on the other side of that is what can be a real vein of gold of multiple referrals a year if you get the right relationship with the right people. Now, this might be an estate attorney, or it could be a family law attorney. It could be an accountant or a financial advisor, or could be a myriad of people that are in business that you cultivate and create a relationship with that, like I said, can be a vein of gold. So what we want to talk about here is the strategy around meeting these people, kind of in any context, but the most common place you might meet, especially now that COVID is kind of in the rearview mirror, is hopefully there'll be some networking events that come up again. But again, remember this process doesn't have to be at a networking event. One of the things is the triangle of trust. And I was just telling Kevin that I ended up on a golf course yesterday as a result of a triangle of trust question that I had with one of my VIPs. So I have a VIP. He sends me lots of business. He does his business with me. He's an engineer. He's telling me about some attorney friend that he has that's doing some stuff with SB9. SB9, if you're not familiar, is the new law on the books that allows people to do lot splits. And I really feel like there's going to be some opportunities here for us with our clients, helping them through SB9. I see this as an opportunity. I say to my friend Dan, hey, Dan, would you please connect me to this guy, Chris, your SB9 attorney, in an email so that we can, start a conversation. He says, sure. So he does an introductory email. I say, hey, this sounds great. Nice to meet you, Chris. How about we all grab a bite to eat? So we go grab a bite to eat, and it was great. Mostly not business, but a little bit of business in there. But because Dan is there, he's the middle of the triangle of trust, and he's saying, hey, Rick, you should meet Chris, and Chris, you should meet Rick. And these guys it's a lot easier than a cold call, right? If I called that very same guy and said, hey, I'm trying to do this stuff with SB9, how far am I really going to get with them? And then after the lunch, I had his stuff. I sent him a thank you card, and I said, hey, Chris, I know you mentioned you play golf. Let's get together and play golf sometime. Yesterday, I played golf with Chris and Dan, and Chris brought another person who is an architect, and bada bing, there we go. Now I got 3 people that are doing business stuff, and I've got all of their information. I send them thank you cards. Nice to play golf. I don't even mention business. And from there, that's the seed of cultivating what could be a longer term and ultimately maybe even a VIP type person. So that's the beginning of how you cultivate business relationships. And of course, maybe both of those guys don't end up being anything. So you have to have multiple conversations like that to create these where you get down, where you kind of distill it down to the people who really know, like, and trust you, like the guy Dan, who's in my VIP group. And that's the cultivation of the triangle of trust. You want to go to the next slide, Kevin?
Yeah. First, though, I'm going to call on Stacy. She already knows that I'm going to ask.
Okay, great.
So if you don't mind unmuting. So for those that are in Stacy's accountability group, I noticed on her daily navigator that she met a new potential client in an unusual way. And I'd love for you to share that, Stacy, because it came from a place that you're not expecting to get business. You're just being yourself.
Right. So yesterday I had to go to the chiropractor for some back issues. And when I was making my next appointment, I was chatting, as I often do, with the woman who was working the front desk. And long story short, I was having a hard time in my schedule getting an appointment. And we ended up talking about some real estate stuff because that was what was blocking my ability to make an appointment. And she said her aunt had just gotten her license. So we had some talk about that. And then before long, she said that she and her fiance were looking for property and trying to get pre-approved. And before long, we were exchanging email addresses and cards, and I offered to help her and her aunt if her aunt would be in need of some help because she just got her license. And as a way to hopefully build a relationship with this new potential client, and it was well received. And she responded to my email that I sent her with mortgage brokers' names, and it's a possible new client going forward. And it just came from making an appointment at a chiropractor.
And Stacy, I love that you mentioned the Go Giver, because it was kind of
It did feel
reminiscent of
very
that.
much that way. At the end of the conversation when I left, because I had offered to help her aunt who just got her license.
That's the key.
Because I figured if she's new, she didn't even give this young woman any mortgage brokers to talk to. So I thought, wow, she is really new. So I said, please have your aunt reach out to me too if she has any questions and wants some advice on how to get started in this crazy business.
That's so awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us, because I just think, and I love that you connected it back to the Go Giver as well. And you can kind of see how moving this
That was
way.
the first thing I thought when I left. I was like, wow, that was a Go Giver moment.
And yeah, because exactly what you didn't do was, oh, her aunt's got her license, I guess I can't help her. She's going to be, whatever. I'm not going to waste my time on her. Instead, you're like, how can I be of service to everybody involved? The aunt, the niece, and whatever. And ultimately, whatever is going to come from that, you went about it in a way that made you seem attractive, because you are attractive in your, how you're doing business. So good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no expectations.
Right. Okay. So going back, so The Go Giver was co-authored by Bob Burg. He also wrote a book. Can you go back a slide, Kevin? He also wrote a book called Endless Referrals. And I don't know why it went blank. Is there one more slide to go back to?
The one that the
top 10 questions. There we go.
There we go.
So in that book, first of all, that is a really great book. It is more of a textbook version. It's the precursor to the Go Giver. And it's a little bit dense, but there's some really great content in there if you're looking for a great networking book. But in the middle of it, he talks about how to go into a networking event. And again, you can use these tactics, not just in a networking event, but it's very tactical. And he talks about these 10 great questions. He talks about what we've been talking about, which is time of possession. He doesn't use that phrase, but the idea is getting people to talk about themselves, asking them open-ended questions about themselves. So if it's no matter what kind of business they're in, these are some great questions. And Kevin, you can now go to the next ones. These are some great questions that you can use. Not necessarily all of these, just like Ford. You don't go in and ask all the Ford questions, but these are some ideas of some questions that you can use to get people to talk about their business, talk about how they got into business. When did you get in? What do you most enjoy about your work? What are some of the changes you see coming about in your business? What are the trends in your industry and so forth? And the point is you're giving them a chance to shine about them. Imagine if somebody were to do that to you and ask you, kind of interview you about real estate and gave you that opportunity to tell you all the things that you know about real estate. How great would that feel? And so that's what we're trying to recreate for people on a purposeful basis, kind of in any environment where you're meeting somebody that might be a great networking partner for you. Remember, this is a person that can give you multiple leads if you generate the relationship the right way. So it's worthwhile to take the time. And this is not a quick sale kind of thing. This is not who do you know that's thinking about buying or selling a home that I can call today conversation, right? This is relationship building. So these are some 10 questions you can use. You can obviously create your own questions. I think, Nicole, we have these in Workplace under.
They're in the knowledge library under forms. Yeah.
In the knowledge library. So you don't have to worry about screenshotting this or writing this stuff down. But try and get a sense and commit these to memory. And then after you've really given somebody an opportunity to talk about themselves in a very flattering way, you get to drop the big, the one key question that will set you apart from everyone else. Okay. And that is this. And this is great. In fact, when I was just telling you about that lunch that I had with the attorney guy, when we were done with lunch, I literally said exactly this to him. I said, how can I know if someone that I'm speaking with is a great prospect for you? And he literally said, wow, that is a great question, And then he told me what his perfect client is. And then I repeated it back to him because I was listening. So it sounds like the great client is somebody that yada, yada, yada. He goes, that's right. So what kind of impression do you think that that guy had of me? It was good enough that he wanted to play golf with me a few weeks later, right? So those are some tactical things to do when you are actually meeting with somebody. Now, what about the follow-up part? The whole card, the business card. This is a thing for me. I have worked with a lot of agents and some, I don't have the right card. My card doesn't look right. I don't care at all about your card. What I care about is you getting somebody else's card and or their information. Your card, giving your card to somebody is almost like, thanks for never calling me, because that's probably what's going to happen, at least statistically. It goes on the nightstand, it goes in their pocket, it goes to the laundry. What it doesn't do is there's no urgency typically for them to call you, no matter how great of a conversation that you had with them, no matter how much you think this is it. And Danny shared a story about that a few weeks ago. They're probably not going to call. On the other hand, if you have their information, now you have control of it, at least trying to follow up with them. So get their card right now. If you've done all the top 10 questions and then the big follow-up questions, they're going to be excited to give you their card because you know what they're looking for. Then you write a handwritten note that just says, hey, it was really great to hear, meet you and listen to you, or, understand about your business, whatever it is. What you specifically don't do is talk about your business in that card. You do not write, let me know if I can help you in real estate or anything like that. It's got to be about them. And then from there, you cultivate with your follow-up. So your below the waterline letter, which I'm not sure if we've spoken about that yet, but we'll get to that. And your evidence of success, which is where they get a chance to see in a short version, you being a real person and you also showing that, hey, I'm really an expert. I sell a lot of houses and keeping them top of brain. If they're worth it and you have your communication with them, if they're worth it, you start following it up with coffees and other kind of social things that you guys can do together to really cultivate an actual relationship. And it can take a long time, but it can be worth it as well.
So obviously building relationships is building trust. They're getting to know you. They trust you. That's going to build the relationship, but building trust also builds relationships. So keeping track of those two things is really important when you're talking to anybody. And the idea of this is you're not in it for business, but the business will probably come the more trust that you build with individuals. So we have a couple of things to think about for homework. One of them now and like I said, many of you probably already know about Ford or those ideas of starting conversation. Think about that when you're talking with friends, family, new people over this next week. Think about asking those Ford questions. And on your daily navigator, your weekly navigator, both of those, you might want to have, you've seen it on Rick's, you've seen it on Nicole's, you've seen it on mine. We have asked Ford questions X number of times. Now you know why that's there. Because we want to really think about the fact that we're using Ford questions when we're speaking with people. So try that during this week to be thinking, I need to ask some Ford questions here, and see how your conversations change with people when you do that. The other thing is listen to people and then respond. Listen to the full conversation of what they have to say and then respond. And use this. Like we both said, we love this question. Tell me more about that. Using that and using that same line over and over and over again can draw out so much information, and it can really be a positive thing. And then go to the knowledge library on Workplace. Under Forms, you're going to see all of these questions printed out. You can download a copy and print them and just kind of study those and think about the next time that I'm in a position that I'm networking, how can I use some of those questions appropriately? So Rick, what are the roadblocks?
Well, I think the roadblocks are that for a lot of us, this is like a new idea. In fact, I was just thinking about networking. Man, I struggle with going to networking events. I get so self-conscious and I just don't like, I feel like tons of pressure. My heart rate is up. And in fact, I went to a networking event not that long ago where I paid to go there. There was I mean, just it was plenty of people there, and I didn't speak to one person. I'm embarrassed to say that, but that's the truth, because I was terrified. I felt I had imposter syndrome. It was a group of like, highly educated, highly, all the things. And I'm like, I do not belong here. I'm not qualified. And I later went back to that similar event with a different mindset, which is I'm going to ask these people about themselves. I'm not going to worry about me. And it went great. It was just like a totally different animal. And so it's pushing through the fear, I guess is what I'm saying. The roadblock is fear. Anytime we're doing anything different, it's like, this is uncomfortable. I'm not used to this. And so pushing through that fear and knowing that on the other side of it is some really tremendous results. I think that's the roadblock.